into the courtroom where opening statements began a short while ago. Opening prosecution first gets 2 hours, and they can use 2 lawyers. Defense second, they can choose opening statements. Also, they get 2 hours, and they can use 2 lawyers as well. I want to bring in HLN legal analyst Joey Jackson. Joey, let's talk about the insanity defense in Colorado. It's a little different here.
Sure, it is, Yasmin. Good afternoon to you. What happens is that each jurisdiction gets to decide how they are going to have and propose a law as it relates to insanity. Some jurisdictions, for example, Kansas, Idaho, Utah, they don't even have an insanity defense. But as it relates to Colorado, what they do is they put the burden on the prosecution to prove sanity beyond a reasonable doubt. In other jurisdictions, the burden is on the defense to prove that the defendant was insane. So it's reversed in the state of Colorado. It's up to the prosecutor to convey to that jury, by his premeditation, you know what? He knew the difference between right and wrong.
And if he does get insanity, Joey, and the jurors want death for him, then he won't be able to get the death penalty if he gets insanity. Is that correct?
Well, absolutely right. The Supreme Court has said that it is unconstitutional to execute people who are mentally disabled. And I even think that there could be a Supreme Court issue there, even if the jury finds him to be sane based upon his mental health issues. You could be sure, Yasmin, that his attorneys will appeal to the Supreme Court and say, hey, he may not have been insane by the definition of Colorado, but he's mentally impaired enough not to be put to death as the Supreme Court standard states.
How do you see the prosecution proving that James Holmes was actually sane and knew exactly what he was doing?
What I think you're going to see is a lot of the premeditation evidence that was here. Remember what he did. For months leading up to this, he purchased a rifle. Subsequent to purchasing a rifle, about a week later, he purchases a shotgun. He then purchases, after that, a handgun. He purchases ammunition. He stakes out the place. He then goes there full of body armor and everything else. He lights a canister of smoke, tear gas. So you're going to see a lot of the premeditation evidence, the plotting, the planning, to show, you know what, this guy knew exactly what he was doing, and he carried out his plan with great precision.
Joey, the judge told jurors today that this case is going to take 4 or 5 months. Why do you think it's going to take so long?
I think there are really 3 issues involved in that. The first is, remember, it's a capital case. And so what you see first is you see the issue of guilt. And so it takes a lot of time to address the issues relating to his guilt. And then in a capital case, you then shift to the issue of penalty and punishment, which is another trial. The second issue, why it's going to take so long, is it's an insanity case. So there'll be a lot of evidence presented in terms of mental state. Was he sane? The defense will rebut, saying he was insane. So that takes a long time. And the third issue, of course, is the sheer volume of the carnage. As you mentioned as we were opening this up, Yasmin, you talked about what he did. The killing of 12 people, the injuring of 70, 165 counts in that indictment. And I suspect you're going to hear chapter and verse exactly what he did and how he did it. All of that takes time.
And a while ago, we talked a lot about Eddie Ray Routh, obviously, who was part of the American Sniper movie. He pled insanity. He did not get insanity, as we all know. That was a difficult case in and of itself. So that's an example right there of how difficult it is to plead insanity and get insanity, especially when someone like Eddie Ray Routh was diagnosed with PTSD. Joey Jackson, I think you're going to be joining us a little bit later to talk a little bit more about Baltimore with Ali Najad. So we'll talk to you then.
Look forward to it, Yasmin. Thanks so much.
And like